that this show is about something I did when I was a young father that I regretted and recovered from. And I really think that people who have children between 2 and 13, 14 years old, maybe 15 years old, really would do well to have them tune in today. So anyway, class is about to start. The lesson for today is pegs and holes. Pegs and holes, and some of you are probably guessing what that's all about. Pegs and holes. We're gonna get to that in a minute. The article of the day is pegs and holes, and some of you may be able to kind of guess or have figured out what that means. So now remember, I wrote this 26 years ago, and I'm reading it for the first time with you. That's practice of the show, and so let's see if I still agree with myself. This would be an occasion, Jazz, where I could have an argument with myself, and I wouldn't be insane, right? Because I'm talking about the myself that was 26 years ago. So here goes. This week, the Love Doctor will take a topic which should be of special benefit to those of you who are lucky enough to be parents of young children. There are also other older readers who will find themselves nodding in agreement because their parental experiences are testimonials to what I described so brilliantly this week. Oh, the Love Doctor. That young Love Doctor was kind of, yes, he was. He was full of yes, he was. After reading this column, some of you may feel anger or resentment to your own parents, while others of you will have a new, deeper appreciation for those who raised you. Since this is the Love Doctor column, created to spread love and understanding among people, I must ask that if you find yourself upset with your parents as a result of the column, stop and try to understand. Remember that once upon a time, all parents were somebody else's children, raised a certain way, believing certain things, learning just as you did as a child. Most of the mistakes made by parents are due to ignorance, not some desire to screw up their kids. We must all learn to forgive ignorance and not repeat it, because ignorance is the source of most of our miseries. Difficult it may be for my regular readers to believe, even the Love Doctor has made a few mistakes in this effort of rearing children. You see, this gift of understanding that I have is not based on my being right all the time, but on my willingness to see and admit to my mistakes. While many of you spend your time finding fault in others, a frustrating exercise because you are powerless to change others, I try to seek and find my own mistakes. For each time I find a mistake, I also find an opportunity where I can improve my life. All I have to do is decide not to make the same mistake anymore, and my life improves. It's great. You apologize to whomever you may have hurt, apologize to yourself and God, and move on, a new and improved person. Here I'll share such a situation. I almost screwed up the young man who creates these great Love Doctor cartoons each week. My own 19-year-old son. That 19-year-old is now 44. When I look back at it, as though I was blind. It's as though I was blind. Like most parents, as a young father, I wanted the best for my children. I would look down at my firstborn baby boy and dream of all the things that he could be. We had high hopes and expectations. As he made his way through elementary school, he did really well in all of his subjects. There he was smart, good-looking, athletic, a real chip off the old block. He was going to be something special. Then around 5th grade, he began to become, now put this in quotes, stupid. All of his grades dropped from A's and B's to B's and C's. And it didn't seem like he cared about school anymore. His mother and I shook our heads. We couldn't figure out what was wrong with the boy. He must be hanging out with the wrong crowd. He hardly studied, did his homework carelessly, and you really had to watch him. You would think he was studying in his room, but he would be wasting time drawing race cars or motorcycles or something. I would get so angry. Boy, put those drawings up and get your head in those books. High school wasn't any better. I sent the kid to the best academic private school in the city. That's right, St. Aug, Purple. And I was upset with him for the whole 4 years. Son never failed, of course, but he came as close as possible. Well, what are you going to do for a living? Machines dig the ditches nowadays. Y'all remember that? They don't need dummies anymore. He went out for sports, but stopped. I actually had to go to school once because one of his teachers caught him drawing the teacher, doing something embarrassing. It was kind of funny. Well, anyway, sometime after his high school graduation, he didn't apply to college. I was looking for something he had borrowed from me in the piles of junk that claimed most of the space in his room. After shuffling through a couple of piles of papers, I began to notice the quality of the drawings that were spread over Son's room. I soon forgot what I was looking for as I sat on the floor and spent an hour or so amazed at the talent displayed right under my own roof. Son was an artist, a pretty damn good one at that. When Son came home from work, I approached him with a stack of drawings. I could tell from the look on his face that he was expecting me to chastise him, as I had always done in the past when I caught him drawing. He was shocked and really pleased when I told him how great I thought his drawings were. I apologized for having been blind to his talent and not having done a better job helping him to develop his skill. Thank God I was finally able to see the treasure that I had overlooked all of my son's life. And it wasn't too late for us to do something about it. Son was enrolled in and doing very well studying commercial art in college. His mother and I and other families have found something to admire in our son. Son is now able to compare himself to other artists, has realized that he's really good. What a great mistake to admit to. I'm so glad that I found and fixed that one. Who knows what may have happened to my son's life? And I'll tell you one thing, next time I find myself with a square peg, I'm going to stop looking for round holes. Don't try and fit a square peg in a round hole. All you're going to do is damage the peg and be frustrated because it's not going to fit. So that's, wow. I remember that phase in our lives. I remember that. Wow. So part of that ending is he never really finished up his studies in commercial art. For one, I think it actually was a boring term. This is a kid that never drew with a pencil. He draws with a pen. You know, it's whatever is in his head comes out through the tip of the pen without a bunch of structured technique. He was drawing the cartoons for the Silverback. I mean, for the Love Doctor column that was in Data News Weekly. And I ought to mention Data News Weekly more often because that's where the Love Doctor was born, actually. And I think I told the story, but I'll tell it again at some other point. But my son actually went through some stuff because, believe it or not, I think it was difficult for him to value his talent as much as others did. And I don't know how much of that I had to do with in terms of being negative about it for many years. But anyway, the story turns out pretty good. He's a great young man. And one day I kind of confronted him about. I said, well, you know, son, you could have done whatever you wanted to do. You know, we were willing to support your education, and he excuse me. One day my son told me, he said, Dad, I want to be just like you. He said, you didn't go to college, and you did all right. You took good care of all of us. You raised us. You had your own business. He said, I want to be just like you. I want to be a self-made man. And man, I don't know if y'all can feel this through the radio. Because just thinking back to that minute, it's like, oh, wow. Wow. Now, I did tell him, I said, so you've chosen the more difficult task, you know. And it was a great moment for us. It was a great moment for us. And listen, so I hope this show, I hope my sharing of that experience keeps some of the people in the audience. And this is going to be posted on YouTube. That's what I do now. I download them from Facebook, then I post them on YouTube because I want them to be available. I want them to be available. I want you in the audience to be able to send people. If they go to lovedrnola.com, it's going to bring them to a page where there'll be links to all of these shows. Some of them were recorded as just sound, and since then we've been using Facebook Live to capture them. But so, can you see how important that show was? So listen, we're going to talk about that a little bit more, but right now we're going to take a break, pay some bills, and so welcome back. Once again, you're listening to Lloyd Dennis and the Love Doctor Show on WBOK 1230 AM, online WBOK1230am.com, and Facebook Live at Love Dr. Nola. Love Dr. Nola to see and hear us on Facebook Live. And that's kind of what we've been doing, working on getting our Facebook Live stuff together. Jazz, I'm gonna have to bring in my little mic mixer, and so I can mix the show sound with the live sound and get everything rolling in here on Facebook Live. I'm doing it. I'm doing Jazz. I'm doing Facebook Live with the laptop, so the picture is sideways. It's not that little skinny thing. So it's interesting. So anyway, there's also an app. You can go to your Play Store or your Apple Store, iTunes or whatever the Apple. I don't have Apple stuff, and download the WBOK 1230 AM app, and you can listen on your phone. That's right, you can do that. So anyway, I always like to say this, even though there's not, well, there is an election coming up. You got to vote. Register and vote. It's the source of power. Some people get it twisted. They think when you vote, you're doing somebody a favor. You're not. What you're doing is establishing the fact that you have power and that you will use the power that you have. You know, we only have like 3 things that we can use to improve our situation. how we use our time, how we spend our money, and our vote, using our vote, demonstrating that we will hold people accountable. That's what it means when you participate in the election process. It means that you are going to hold people accountable. And so anyway, let's get back to our topic. Yeah, it was so I don't know really all that my son went through as a result of the fact that his dad didn't appreciate the fact that he was a gifted artist until a lot of negative things had happened. And you know, even now, that's really hard to deal with. But one of the things that I decided when I took this Love Doctor journey was that it's going to be the good and the bad. You know, the lots of things that I learned from elders, lots of things I learned from watching other people in relationships who were role models to us. And so there's lots of what we learn about making it in life and making our relationship work that wasn't a result of mistakes. But I tell you what, boy, when you do make a mistake, I hope you learn from it, because it all has cost. And in this case, it almost cost my son and I our relationship. But it's all good now. Son has taken over the photography business, and he and my youngest son have created a hip hop table game. It's called Rap Gods. And they spell it funny. It's Godz, and it's taken the table game world by storm. They've been going to these conventions. There's usually a bunch of nerdy white boys. You sit down with black guys at these places, and they've had some rappers play the game. They love it. And the game is made up kind of out of the rap culture and the steps and stuff that, you know, I guess the steps forward and then the steps backwards that people end up doing in that rap business. I played it one time and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a really great game. And one of the best things about this game is going to be the artwork. Man, Fahamu Omari, that's my youngest son. He kind of benefited from me understanding what happened to my older son. So the younger son, it was like, son, whatever, you know, let me encourage whatever you're interested in. You know, whatever you're interested in, and we kind of did that. And so, you know, he's kind of a nerdy kid, got off into the computer stuff. All of my children seem to have taken something that I do and made it part of their life. So with him, it was the computer stuff, the technology stuff. The older brother's the artist, and so he's really done he's a great artist. These images that this game, you know, the playing cards and the characters and stuff that he's creating for this game. I mean, it looks like great graphic novel artistry. And he has his style. You know, I can look at his stuff and I know it's his stuff. So I'm excited that he has found a place for that. I'm really excited that he has found an outlet, a way to use that talent to you know, for an entrepreneurial situation with him and his brother, and they are enjoying that, doing some business together. And I'm enjoying watching them do it. So please, if you have children, what I'm suggesting to you is if you think that your children may be interested in something, or you would like them to consider doing something in life, expose them to it. Expose them to it. My daughter I had the really real privilege of doing the photography for the National Society of Black Engineers, which was a student organization, NSBE, and I had the opportunity to do their photography when they had a meeting in Boston. That's right. People used to hire me to come and take photographs at their conventions out of town. That's right. So anyway, and the next year they were having it in Dallas, and we followed up on that and really wanted to do it again because Dallas was close enough where I could drive and bring my kids. And so I brought the kids to this convention. It's a student-run, Black engineering students ran their own convention, set up their own workshops and meetings. And because I had this connection with them, they gave me full credentials for my two kids at that time, the two older kids. My daughter was about 12, and my oldest son was 14. And so they both had two very different experiences. My son was 14, and he was in like hormone hell, right? And all he could see was how fine the girls were. He was blinded by the pulchritude. he didn't hear none of the speeches. All he saw was how pretty and together and how fine the sisters who attended this meeting were. Well, my daughter got something out of it. My daughter sat into a session, and evidently in that session, there's some young female engineer presented it, and she, at that point in time, she decided she wanted to be an engineer. On the way back in the van, my daughter said, "I want to be an engineer." And from that point on, she became an avid student of science and mathematics. And I really think that had a lot to do with it. So what my advice is if there's something that you want to see your child think that they might be into, expose them to it some kind of way. Expose them to it. This was a great opportunity for these teenage kids. And after that, my daughter she just blew all the science and math courses away. Got her engineering degree between Xavier and Tulane. And then what happened was that, because I've always had this thing about young people and helping uplift and educate young people, because I actually taught photography for several years because they said they needed black men in the classroom. So I went teach for about 3 years, which is all I could afford. We still don't pay teachers enough. This is a little digression, but anytime there's an opportunity to pay teachers some more, let's support that, because the teachers are everything, man. Teachers are how we develop our raw material, which is our children. So anyway, she decided that she didn't want to be an engineer anymore, making big grand theft money too. Worked for IBM. Girl she wanted to be a teacher. And you don't know how good that felt for me as her father. How good it felt for this brilliant young woman to decide that she wanted to share her brilliance with children. That's a warm, fuzzy spot for me. So she and I now have she and I have great conversations about education, teaching, and children. My oldest son and I have great conversations about the photography business, and how that's going and things to do. What's interesting is when he was working for me in the business, he didn't want me to tell him anything. But now that he's running the business, he asks me everything. And then the youngest one and I have these conversations about technology. So I'm really glad that we didn't injure that relationship with my oldest son and we managed to fix it because we realized that we didn't recognize his talent, and we didn't understand that. Didn't understand that, and I thought my job was to make him buckle down academically when that wasn't really his interest or his gift. I mean, you know, he did what he had to do academically. Well, but if I could have got him into some art classes, imagine had I been, now this is not I should. So this is an imagination, and it's for the benefit of those of you who have not made the mistake. So, you know, what if I had gotten him hooked up with somebody like Richard Thomas, you know, in his art camp, when he was instead of fussing at him for drawing, when I saw him drawing, what if I had taken that hint that God was giving me and made use of it and got him exposed to some of the great artists and the great art educators that we have in this city. So, you know, that's kind of the article, and what I wanted to get out today is that, listen, children come in all different shapes, colors, interest, you know, and what we have to do is take what we have and just help it become the best that it can be, the best that that child can be in areas where that child has some talent and competence. And hopefully not waste their talent. And I really feel blessed that my oldest son is finding expression of his visual talents in both photography. The boys, I know lots of you thought that I was a pretty good photographer. You must have, because you helped me raise my family by doing that work for many of you. But my son is so much better. He has a natural eye, and then if you take that natural eye and you add the competence that he gained technically from having me teach him, because I taught photography at school. I had developed a whole course, and he's benefited from all of that. So he has that outlet and opportunity to do expression. Does great video work too, much better than I mean the camera stuff. I think I may be a better editor, but in terms of cameras, movement, in terms of camera angles and where the shot starts and where it ends, I think he's much more artistic than I ever was. So anyway, got that kind of got. That was a piece that I'm glad we did, because it helped me get some stuff off my chest from when I wrote that. Because most of the good stuff that I just talked about happened after I wrote this piece. After I wrote this piece. This piece was me basically saying, I'm glad I caught that mistake. I'm glad I didn't continue to be a negative force in his creative life. So parents, so if you heard this and you know somebody who would benefit from hearing my story, please have them go to Love Dr. Nola and click the link that's going to bring them to the channel so that they can watch it. I like to have fun during this Love Doctor stuff, but I really am intentional about wanting to make sure that you are, that anything that I went through benefits other people so they don't have to go through the same thing. That's what the Love Doctor show. I was not right the first time all my life. But anyway, I want to be right afterwards. Once again, thank you for tuning in. Please tell your friends and neighbors and folks that's trying to have relationships about the Love Doctor show. And we're just trying to help. Just trying to help. And that's, once again, Voodoo Love by Lance Ellis from his Thinking of You album. And I won't be live next week, but we will be the week after that. See ya.